Daniela Kron-Lieberberg. I'm the executive director and founder of SIMA Studios, and I'm joined by my colleagues today, Virginia Pitaro, who's our global partnerships director. And we are grateful to be able to host this session and give you a little bit of insight into our work today. The session is called Storytelling with SIMA Studios. At SIMA, we're typically interested in what happens after the credits roll. Film, and then what? In terms of our agenda, I'm going to tell you a little bit about how SIMA started. I'll give you a case study in ways that we've been able to utilize storytelling to advance local community activism. We're going to look at tools and resources that you can use to do the same in your communities. Virginia will then give us a walkthrough through the SIMA platform, and then we'll have a film screening, 30 minutes of a short documentary from Sierra Leone. I used to be a documentary filmmaker working in the international development space. For about 10 years, I was between Southeast Asia and West Africa, making films for humanitarian and human rights organizations, small and large. And in the process, realized that storytelling sometimes caused more harm than good. If you see this poster, this picture, if it were on a poster, what would the headline say? Anyone? Other input?
Neglected.
Imagery, angles matter. If you look in the background, you see a little boy holding a lollipop. This is my friend Emmanuel Toe's son, who's a carpenter in Robertsport, Liberia, who gave his friends and his sons lollipops. And he was asking if he could have one too. The reappropriation of images, of individuals that we have the pleasure to encounter on our travels, during our work internationally, has taken turns where ethical storytelling is often compromised. The storytelling that me and my colleagues were commissioned to was very much around binaries of givers and receivers, and heroes and victims. And here were the most resilient, creative people I've ever met. And all I was asked to do was to make them into subjects of poverty, robbing them of their dignity so we could play on the heartstrings of international donor communities to throw money at a problem that they didn't understand, and certainly of stories that help them understand. The storytelling was one of the problems. We're talking early 2000s, this is before Facebook came around, 2007, Twitter, where the kind of stories that actually celebrated the resilience of local communities. The only distribution outlets for those were the international film festivals. And I always give this one example, give a story about domestic violence that women face in northern India that's screening at a film festival in Canada, and that's wonderful, but how does that help the women in northern India? And with that in mind, I started making films with local communities in Liberia and Senegal, testing what local community impact could look like when using film. And I'm going to make the story very short. And then fell from a horse in Jamaica in 2012 and fractured my knee and couldn't be in the field making films anymore, and decided I can't continue making these films. They have to come to me, and I have to figure out how to distribute them in a way that they can have optimum impact. And pretty much overnight, with a Facebook page and a cool looking flyer, and telling everyone I've ever worked with, this is what we're going to do, we're going to change the face of social impact storytelling, started SEMA, which was the acronym for the Social Impact Media Awards. Over the years, We have grown into a global documentary film competition and distribution outlets in communities and classrooms around the world. Investing in people and in their ability to drive the direction of global development is the foundation of our work. We start with an annual awards competition, which is acquisition, where we find the best films. We select about 30 every year that we then plug into two distribution programs, SIMA Academy and our traveling series, which is called SIMA Across Borders. We have a capacity building physical sponsorship program where we invest in the development of storytelling and filmmakers. Just a quote of one of our partners. We were able to reach thousands of people via documentaries about issues that are close to our hearts, to make our problems visible, to give the solutions a stage to be seen, and to inspire change. I want to first focus on the community cinema aspect, give you an example, and share the resources with you along the way. The power of community cinema. We might do better to think of the film as one point of a continuum, with a life before broadcast and a life that's quite a long life after broadcast. Films don't change anything. People do. It's about the people who made them, the people who watch them, the people who distribute them, and the people to use them as ammunition to amplify the work that they're doing or the work. In recent years, there's a job title that came about, the impact producer. A lot of us have been doing this work before this title was around. But what is an impact producer? Who is an impact producer? Am I an impact producer? Responsibilities may vary based on the issues and defining impact goals, often include strategy development, issue mapping, organizational partnership development, digital content production, engagement, and impact evaluation and measurement. Any of you have engaged in any of these activities as part of your work? See hands, congratulations, you're impactors. Sometimes action starts with a sheet of paper. What do we need in terms of execution steps? Who are the people responsible? Who can complete this? What are the challenges that happen in completing this? A very basic template for starting impact action campaigns, the basis of any good community organizing. My favorite of those sheets looks like this. And I like it in particular because it has short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals that are sometimes more realistic and also alleviate the burden of having to fulfill our end goal that can sometimes be rather overwhelming. I'm going to use that as part of an impact campaign I want to share with you. In 2010, I went to Senegal to make a film about the Taliban. 50,000 Quranic school students lived in conditions into slavery, forced to beg on the streets by their Quranic school teachers, and a film dealing with children's rights, a very culturally sensitive topic, ended up having a live on the film festival circuit, but that wasn't why we made it. I want to share with you a clip.
Pour apprendre le Coran, c'est mieux pour notre avenir. Ailleurs, c'est les talibés. Leur père vient de donner le marabout pour qu'ils puissent prendre pour apprendre le Coran. Quand ils apprennent, Dieu il est content. Mais quand ils n'apprennent pas, Dieu il est méchant. La chose bon là, c'est apprendre le Coran mieux et faire une prière. Quand tu fais ça, le marabout, il est content. Mais quand tu es tribunal, tu parles et tu n'apprends pas, le marabout va te frapper et te donner une punition.
Et la punition, qu'est-ce que c'est?
La punition, c'est on prend un chien, le chien du chien, et on le met ici, et on l'attache. Et on l'attache. Regarde, c'est ça. On le met, c'est ça. Ça. Tu comprends? On le met ici. On le met ici. Jusqu'à demain matin. Ça, c'est moi. J'ai plongé la neige. J'ai ça. J'ai ça. Et ça. Nous sommes et ça.
Talibé, autre jeune de la cité, évincé de la société, victime de la mendicité, seul dans la réalité, tu subis la criminalité.
Saint-Louis a été la première capitale du Sénégal. Saint-Louis a été aussi le lieu où tous les érudits de l'islam, tels que Cheikh Ahmed Bamba, tel que Hadj Malick, tel que Omar Foutiyou, tous les grands penseurs de la religion musulmane sont passés à Saint-Louis pour mettre leur empreinte dans Saint-Louis. Ce qui te frappe à l'œil quand tu viens en premier à Saint-Louis, ce sont les talibés. Au Sénégal, on dit talibé, un étudiant, quelqu'un qui étudie le Coran. Quand on dit enfant talibé, tout le monde fait allusion à un enfant qui mendie, qui demande à aider un enfant qui est complètement dans la pauvreté. Quand il se réveille, la première des choses à faire, c'est de prendre le pot et puis d'aller voir ailleurs où trouver à manger. D'abord, il faut faire quelque chose dans la manche pour vraiment venir pouvoir apprendre et mettre ça dans la tête. Ces enfants ne vivent pas leur vie. Ces enfants sont volés de leur vie. Ils n'ont pas envie parce qu'ils voient les autres enfants des maisons porter des habits propres, aller à l'école, aller chez le voisin, jouer au foot, faire le tout. Mais eux, ils ne voient pas leur famille. Ils se voient toujours entre eux que les garçons. Ils sont toujours en manque de nourriture, ils sont toujours en manque d'accoutrement, ils sont toujours en manque de santé parce qu'ils dorment à même le sol et ils n'apprennent pas bien le Coran parce qu'ils ont toujours le ventre creux.
We found that there are at least 50,000 young boys, the vast majority under 12 years old, that are subjected to what amounts to international law conditions akin to slavery. They're forced every day to beg on the streets of the major cities for as many as 8 to 10 hours a day. They're demanded to bring back a sum of money, often an amount of rice and sugar as well each day. If they fail to bring back any of these things, they're beaten often brutally by their teacher who they're living with, who's de facto a guardian of these children. And then despite often bringing back substantial sums of money, rice and sugar, generally none of that stuff is actually used for their benefit. They have to beg for their own food. When they're sick, they have to beg for additional money to pay for their own medicines. So a lot of these, I think what we would call fake teachers or Homer, who are getting rich, making as much as 20 to 60,000 US a year, while the kids get absolutely nothing and generally don't even get a real Quranic education. When you talk to Islamic scholars, they often say that the kids that are there for 5-6 years in these really abusive schools, they leave and they don't even have a mastery of the Quran.
taalibe moom fekkee rek yéen pour looy jàngal mu njëriñ la ëllëg il faut nga sonn mooy comme noonu bu ñooy gis taalibe yi tëdd de mbedd loolu yëpp tamit jafe-jafe la waaye loolu bu sabu maaraam ndax fekkoon na maaraam bi am na lu mu bëggale taalibe mu buggee nu mu di dem yàlla.
Plein de générosité à la rue du pauvre, de la fidélité. Pour chaque unité, les gens tu attends de la bonté, ô enfant de la solidarité. Seul tu combattes la nudité, ô enfant de la précarité.
Senegal adopted the Convention of the Rights of the Child in 1998, which is to ensure that children receive safety, have a right to well-being. Criminalized forced begging in 2005, and no government enforcement was happening. The organization that we were following, the regime, was under Lagarde, a young man from Assembly who decided he wants to change what's happening in his neighborhood, started an organization that went from Dara to Dara, from Quranic school to Quranic school, to provide medical assistance, to help clean the wounds of some of the children. I have an image, your discretion is barred off in terms of underscoring the gravity of the situation. I'm going to show this right now. Young people in the community deciding they need to create change. Cut back to our impact campaign. Short term, creating awareness, local and global. How do we start talking about an issue that is considered taboo? Support NUG, the local grassroots organization for medical kits. You see medium-term goals to strengthen local organizations, build partnerships, and long-term goals, mobilizing the international community to put pressure on the local government, as well as ensuring that the word gets out to everyone that can help to alter policy. In terms of the resources, we have media resources, the support, the local organization, targets, agents. Who do we target with our story? Oftentimes we say everybody. This is such an important issue everybody should know. Everybody's not a clearly defined target. The children's rights organizations, educational institutions, Islamic schools, mothers. In terms of the strategies that I'm going to show you a few of, creating opportunities for local screenings, creating action kits, and the action steps, everything from offering communication opportunities to in-person events. We started instantly in the Darts, in the driving schools, screened this film and had older Taliban lead the conversations for the younger students. We then partnered with peaceful volunteers to screen the film across the country and replicate this model of having Taliban students as part of the moderators. We then organized screenings for local organizations working in Senegal, creating forums, film events as an excuse to bring people who are all ought to be solving this issue together. Because how many times have we met someone that works on very similar issues that maybe works in the office to the left and we have never spoken to each other? It was important to bring everyone to the table. The students, the teachers, that were often only demonized without consideration of their own circumstances. So they have a voice in local organizations and ensure that after the screening, if someone has a question, they have someone there who can answer that question. Using local community SIMA for local coalition building for partnership development has been absolutely key. When we ventured into the more medium and long term, ensure that the international community can participate as well. Our list of targets, as I said, included Islamic studies, departments, community centers, children's rights organizations, anti-slavery organizations. And one of the most important attributes of an impact producer is keeping really good lists. Not only because you want to draw back to those lists for the next event, but also to sort of recycle the process. I'll give you a screenshot of what some of those lists look like. Created a Facebook page for all local organizations to continue to start sharing resources, a centralized hub for information to be shared, for events to be announced. Created the Taliban Rights Campaign, which was a flyer campaign educating around the issue. That was a digital content campaign, started reaching schools in Spain, in Italy, but it was foremost distributed to local organizations in Senegal, including to taxi companies, where taxis, so that when tourists came, indirectly had to learn about the issue and understand what they were perpetuating by continuing to give to Taliban beggar children. Empowering local Taliban, they created a walkout in their own communities and action kits where we gave audiences various opportunities and their level of involvement, which was from sharing media resources to supporting organizations that have short-term impacts, to toss them addressing the root cause of the problems, why Taliban was sent away in the first place, how do we ensure that families have resources to support their own children, to emergency medical assistance, to a national forum for 50 organizations that have come together in Senegal and international organizations like Human Rights Watch and Anti-Slavery International. Grassroots and up. Give you opportunities to send letters to embassies. In terms of the ecosystem of support that we were able to mobilize, from credits to partner organizations and festivals and advocacy campaigns. Today, this is actually a picture from 2014. ISA and MUG have a running center for photography that serves hundreds of photographers each day with vocational training, with medical assistance. They run various agricultural, educational, mental health programming, tailoring programming. ISA was recognized by the State Department and anti-trafficking, and was also featured at the Human Rights Commission for this work, protecting photography. During COVID, the tailoring project created masks. In 2010, there were 50,000 photography in Senegal that were forced to break up the street. How many do you think there are today?
More than 60. More than 60,000.
Because it's 100,000. I'm not here to tell you that the screening campaign is going to make people. But using it as a tool to mobilize support, to strengthen local community organizations and work that they're already doing, to amplify and build coalition and partnerships to ensure that what governments sometimes aren't, for all kinds of reasons, interfering with, local organizations have to support to do that. Now, not everybody has to create their own film and their own movie about the work that they're doing. Wouldn't it be nice to have access to a library of vetted documentary films from around the globe that organizations can use to advance their own community projects? You guessed it. SIMA Academy is such a streaming platform curated around the SDGs, searchable by country, region, topic, theme. It's kind of developed the Netflix for change makers. And everyone here has the opportunity to access it. I'm going to show you a quick trailer. Feel free to make use of this access code so that you can have the opportunity to explore all of SIMA's library. And I'm going to ask our partnerships director to give you a walkthrough of
set it up. But I have the easy job after this introduction to share with you this amazing resource that you can all just use to advance the cause you really care about. So what is unique about SIMA is, I believe, that is the most beautiful thing, is the way we source content. As Daniela mentioned during the presentation, is through the SIMA Awards. So every year we receive, during 1 month, around 300 short films and documentaries from around the globe about these type of stories. So by now, after 13 years, we have a collection of almost 300 short documentaries on this platform that really comes from every corner of the world. So you will find a diversity of perspectives around the most urgent environmental and social issues. So for sure you'll find a story that you can use in your community, for your work, and to really engage your community. It's not only about creating awareness, and that's already a very impactful thing. One experience that I have, and I know that that's the case for the audience in general, is once you watch these films, you can never look to that issue with the same eyes. You know, they have this power to expand your mindset around the issue and also really help you connect with that issue at an emotional level. So it's not only that you learn more about this, that it's really important to learn more because it's usually really complex, the things we're dealing with, but you really kind of connect at this emotional level. So once you connect, you really care, and then you are willing to do something about it. So that's really powerful. And do you want to go then through the, I can go. You can browse. So here's the platform, SIMA Academy. And we have different assets. We will go through each of them, but I want to start with how we browse films. That's one, I would say, our main asset. Do you want to go? Good. Let me see if I can do this. Oh. So, I said, let me see if I can do it.
Mirror, so.
Oh. Oh, I see the challenge. I don't know, it's custom. Is it? Okay, so you go to browse films and you'll find different playlists. So you can sort the films around themes, length, region, language, but the entire collection is organized by SDGs. So if you let's put these examples. I want to create host a film screen around SDG number 3 on good health and well-being. So I have a list of films from different countries, different length, different perspectives on the issue to really bring to life that SDG, because that's really what these films are, right? Like abstract concepts, sometimes they're just like theory, things like far away from you, and through a real life story comes to life. And we have that for each of the SDGs, and we also have other two very interesting playlists. One is called the Interconnected SDGs, and there you can find 17 films that really shows you how these SDGs are linked to each other, and to solve or to contribute to a solution and to go to the root causes, you will definitely tackle different SDGs at the same time. And then we have another one called the Inner Development Goals. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's about the inner skills we need to develop as change maker to create outer change. So all those playlists are really helpful when you're trying to create an impact campaign to advance the SDGs in your community. There's other ways to browse films by keywords, there's an index, it's very intuitive to explore. And as Daniela said on her presentation, the real question is what happened after the credits roll. And we have a lot of examples under testimonies and impact stories that you can take the time to explore. We have the real cases of educators, change makers, and students that once they use these films in the classroom or in sometimes the workspace, that film started a conversation and ignite a community project or a service learning project that really create positive impact out there. Everything started with that film. But we also created some lesson plans. We have 9 lesson plans right now. And the lesson plans are really guides in the case you as an educator or a facilitator needs like a frame to have like a step-by-step plan or guide to really kind of conduct the energy that happens after screening the film. And there's one that we wanted to show you that is called the SDG challenge. There's the self-guided option, and there it's too loud. So if you click the self-guided option, you'll find different tools, like the ones that I have shown you, like worksheets, where you can start working on your campaigns. So once you decide which is the SDG you want to work with, then you have, can you go, scroll down a little bit? You'll find, I'm just gonna give you an example here. We have that SIFT worksheet, and that's a tool for you to register what are you feeling and thinking while you watch the films, really to have a register of how that film is changing your thoughts and your feelings. And then we have other tools more related to the project itself. So we offer here an impact gaps canvas, just to make sure you don't need to reinvent the wheel every time. So to make sure you understand what is happening in the ecosystem and which organizations are already working on that topic, so you can partner with them and you can really understand where the gaps are and where you can really contribute. And there are other spreadsheet, scroll down a little bit. There, the advocacy campaign brainstorming worksheet and the project planning. That's the one you show as an example. So here you can find the themes and also this guide together with the worksheets to start working on your campaigns tomorrow. You have all the tools you need here. And just an example, and to introduce, I'm going to go to the Changemaker Award winner 2024. So this is an example of this educator, Pratibha from India, and together with her 11th graders, she screened some films, one of them being Ifine. That's the film we're gonna watch all together now, after our presentation. And they watched that film that is related to the epidemic of skin bleaching in Sierra Leone. And so after watching that film, these girls, a group of girls, started like a after-school club to have conversations on a regular basis about what they understand around beauty, and they invited like other students to really learn about their experience and their perspective on the issue, and then they started like a section in the school where students can go and ask for natural remedies, for instance, to treat pimples. And so to try to also offer students like natural remedies to different skin problems. Really, and they learn all that from that film. And another group of this class watch films around visually challenged kids, and some another story of a deaf learner in New Zealand, and they decided to contribute to a local school for blind people. And this example is really interesting because after watching the film, they were really mobilized and they started learning and thinking and brainstorming what they could do to add value to that school. And they decided they could learn Braille and translate some books. That's before visiting the school. Once they went there, they were in shock to learn about this amazing school with Soto College. And they already have a library in Braille. They have a lot of resources. So by listening, and that's something that a lot of social entrepreneurs that use this SIMA Academy as a resource, they watch the films to really better understand the issue they want to contribute. Because sometimes, even if you have the best of your intentions, if you really don't learn from the people that are there living the problem, you probably are maybe creating more harm than good. So in this case, they talked with the principal and the students, and they said, what we really need is some audiobooks on some trainings, some training manuals that we need to study to become educators ourselves. So the students changed their project completely, and they created like 3-minute audios of a almost 1,000 pages manual. And now the students can listen to this manual and to study to their exams to become educators. And that's the first audiobook in the country. And so they were very, very proud. That's just an example. And now we want to invite you to watch this film screening of this beautiful, beautiful film, by the way, called It's Beautiful.
Thank you very much. The resources that are made available for students, change makers, and educators. I'm sure everyone would agree that global challenges require global perspectives. If you're change makers yourself, you've lived the problem, you understand the problem better than we out on the outside ever will. But to educate around the issues that are happening around from first-person perspectives, this is the opportunity. We started SEMA Academy. We invited a group of high school students to participate in the pre-selection of the SEMA Awards. So to meet these students, in our minds, we have encountered that the sheer authenticity of these stories have taught media literacy to an extent where they understood global issues from personal perspectives. If I had the opportunity to just take each student around the world and understand the circumstances of communities around the world, I would have found out where the world today. And not just through my eyes, but through global eyes. And Ukraine is a beautiful example of a Syrian filmmaker spotlighting an issue in their community that we would love to share with you. It's a 30-minute film.